Okay. Would someone like to lead the Pledge of Allegiance for us? Anybody?
I'll do it.
Ray, would you like to?
Okay, it'd be a pleasure.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks so much, Ray. New members and guests, but it looks like aside from our speakers, well, we have Heather here also, but I'll let Heather introduce yourself in a second. No one else. Is it only one page? Sorry, I'm like mini.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Okay, here we go.
You're fine.
Okay, well, I'll let Heather introduce herself, and I think she has an announcement to make as well.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Bittner, and I'm with Eureka Chamber. So thank you so much to Renee for inviting me and letting me chat about what we do, which is I teach a digital marketing class called Elevate. It's a grant-funded class, so it's free to all Humboldt County businesses. And we have, met the minimum quota for this year. And so I wanted to put it out to other chambers and other businesses to please come and join us. So we've actually opened some extra classes because we have had lots of interest. So the classes that we've opened are Mondays at 6 p.m. starting September 12th. It goes hey, awesome. Thank you. It goes 3 Mondays in a row. So the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th. I've also opened up an afternoon class on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Those classes will be September 6th, 13th, and 20th. October classes aren't booked yet, but we'll get there shortly. And it is free. It's a grant-funded class, and we're going to go over a bunch of things to do with digital marketing, everything from how to do SMART goals and analytics and demographics. Oh, there it is. So we've actually condensed it into 3 classes, so 3 courses this time, but all of the things that you see there are covered in those 3 classes. So it's about a 2-hour class, 3 weeks in a row. So if you're at all interested, please hop on over to eurekachamber.com or email me at heather@eurekachamber.com. And I'd love to discuss your digital footprint and how we can get your business to be a little more confident, a little more comfortable with doing digital marketing. So thank you for having me. And I see some familiar faces. Sorry, you hear my spiel all the time, ladies from Alzheimer's group. But anyway, we'd love to have you join, and there's room in the classes. We'll open up more if these fill up, but they're a terrific collaborative environment. And if nothing else, you're going to get the other members in the class to be supportive of your digital marketing efforts, and it has been quite.
Yeah, we're losing.
Yeah, we lost your sound, Heather. Sorry, I thought it was my headphones. I think your mic cut off a little bit.
Okay,
We can hear you, but you're super faint.
Oh,
Like,
okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So so it's open to every Humboldt County business. You do not need to be a chamber member, and there is 0 cost to join. So if you want to get in on those September classes, go to eurekachamber.com/elevate, or send an email to heather@eurekachamber.com, and she'll give you more information. Okay, great. Thanks, Heather.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Any other announcements? Yeah, Melissa, what do you got?
My grand opening is this Thursday at 6 o'clock. My mom's making cookies. So whoever wants to come on over the bridge and help us cut the ribbon. It'll be fun. And then let me put my other hat on. I'm also helping with the marketing for the Humboldt County Fair. So if you haven't been to the fair yet, don't forget. And this Wednesday is the big chili cook-off hosted by Guy, and it benefits big brothers and big sisters. So that's
And
it.
I'll put in a plug for the fair because I'm actually working there Wednesday for the Little Red Schoolhouse.
Oh, yay.
Retired teachers. And so if you've never been in the Little Red Schoolhouse, it's kind of fascinating. It was an actual school, a one-room school back in the 40s and 50s and 60s that they moved to the fairgrounds, and we helped maintain that building.
That's cool. And then of course Hops is the
Oh, yeah.
Saturday, the
Okay,
27th.
yeah, let's
I
put
know
my
Melissa
other-
has
Yeah, the
18
beer hat.
hats.
The
Yeah.
beer hat. Yeah, Hops is on Saturday. So tickets are available online, hopsandhumboldt.com. We have about 50 VIPs left. So if you want to be an important person, you better buy it soon because we're not going to have many left.
And I see you have a free shuttle and it picks up in
Oh,
4
yeah.
spots around town. So that's good for folks.
Yep, that's all the same. Nothing's really changed. Hop it on. We don't really have DUIs because everybody kind of knows that they're going to go and get drunk. So they make sure and take care of themselves. So
So where do you get your shuttle from?
we work with Humboldt Transit Authority. And then also the city of Fortuna has a little senior
Little
bus that they
senior
run.
bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's at different points. So it picks up at Roner Park and then down by the hotels.
Yeah, it does a Fortuna
And
loop.
Yeah, it does the loop. So
And then the
that's-
big Redwood Transit or Humboldt Transit, they do the big, they pick up, they start at HSU and load them up. I heard that is a pretty eventful ride. The ride home is a lot more interesting than the ride there.
Yes, you're probably less subdued.
I think there's a total of 5 big buses that truck everybody down. So it's a lot.
Yeah, nice, awesome. All right, well, I've got a couple of announcements and then we'll turn it over. I'm sure Ray has some for Kiwanis. So first, last week we had our August mixer at the River Lodge. So thank you to Hops and Humboldt Went Construction and the River Lodge Conference Center for hosting that. It was a lot of fun, great prizes, lots of good food. So thank you everybody who donated a mixer prize and also those who attended. And then obviously don't forget the festival on Saturday. Melissa already mentioned her grand opening. We're going to be there with the Ferndale Chamber. They're going to do the ribbon cutting. I'm guessing right at 6. So Melissa walked away. I'm guessing pretty close to 6 because that's when her grand opening starts. And then just a reminder, next Monday, the Humboldt County Office of Economic Development is doing their SEDS public engagement meeting at the River Lodge at 5:30. The purpose of the forum is to allow residents to share their thoughts and ideas on how to develop economic growth in Humboldt County. You can get more information at humboldtrising.com. And then finally, next week, our Zoom program will be Ben Bailey, an account executive down there at the bottom, hi Ben, from Lost Coast Communication. So be sure to tune into that. That will be our last meeting for a month. We're going to take September off and then we'll be back in October once we figure out our new format. Most likely, I'm like 98% sure it'll be a Fortuna City Council candidate forum. So that's always a good time. And with that, I will turn it back over to Bailey to see if we have any other announcements.
Thank you. Ray, go ahead.
Yeah, Kiwanis, if you haven't heard, is having a Quarter Mania coming up. It's less than a month away, September 17th over at the River Lodge. The dinner and social starts at 5:30. The actual event starts at 6:30. And we have well over 100 prizes. We're going to be auctioning off for a quarter or maybe 2, depending on the size of the prize. Everyone's invited and all the money raised goes back to the kids in the community from the Kiwanis. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
Where did you say the September mixer was?
Oh, the September mixer will be at Unveiled Studio on September 21st. That's the chamber mixer. And then Ray was talking about the Kiwanis Club's quarter craze, which is what day? September 10th?
September 17th.
17th, September 17th. that right, Ray? I have too many dates in my head.
I'm like
Yeah.
looking at the poster, but it's backwards on my door. Like, I don't know what time or what day it is.
September
September
17th sounds
17th
right.
is the right
Yeah,
date.
that's the Quarter Craze, and that's at the River Lodge too, yeah? That you're
Correct.
doing the Quarter Craze at, okay. And you also have a business women's luncheon coming
Yeah,
up
business
in
business
October.
women's luncheon is on October 20th. And I believe it's generally at 11:30, 12 o'clock. I don't have the actual flyer in front of me, but we recognize significant women in the community. And once again, the community is invited. I think it was originally Don Brown used to be the original keynote speaker for that. So we should have a really, really good turnout. It's always a fun
Yeah,
event.
yeah, definitely. Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Kiwanis has a lot of stuff going on. Anybody else have any other announcements before I let Kim and Lynn take over? No? Okay. So our guest speakers today are Lynn and Kim with the Alzheimer's Association.
Okay, so let's see, do you want to do the first slide? Okay,
All right, and then do we want to, okay, great. All right, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. So the Alzheimer's Association, for those who don't know, our vision is a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementia. And our mission is to lead the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. Next slide.
okay, so what is dementia and Alzheimer's? That's a lot of question that people ask. They use the terms interchangeably, but that is not correct. If you look at this slide, you can see dementia is the umbrella. So dementia is a collection of symptoms that cause a person to have cognitive decline. Alzheimer's is just one form of dementia. And then within Alzheimer's, there's 3 specific types that have been identified. So it's late onset that affects the most people, like 50% of the people over age 85 or older. Early onset affects people under 65, and familia, which is the rarest form, is a genetic form. So what causes Alzheimer's? That's one of the questions that we're trying to solve. And the more they delve into it, the more things they find that are causes. So the first cause that they found was a combination of genetic, lifestyle, and environmental factors that affect the brain over time. It can include conditions that damage your heart and blood vessels like heart disease, diabetes, stroke, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. And just recently, they've now been saying that a person can actually have the startings of Alzheimer's 20 years before they have any outward symptom or sign that they're experiencing some cognitive decline. So that's a huge, long time before you have something that would make you think you might have this. So the first cause they found was a buildup of abnormal proteins in and around the brain cells. There's 2 kinds of proteins. There's amyloid deposits, and they form plaque around the brain, and it basically kills the brain cells. And the other type of protein is called a tau, that's TAU, and it forms tangles within the brain cells. So both of these plaques can interfere with brain activity. They now have a PET scan that can identify these proteins in your brain and can also identify if the hippocampus area of your brain is shrinking. The hippocampus area is right at the base of your skull, right where your skull and your head connect, and it's kind of the memory center of your brain. So they have that as an identifying biomarker for possible Alzheimer's. They're working on a blood test, which again can identify the plaques and taus, the proteins. The blood test would be much easier than the PET scan, especially since we don't have PET scans up here unless they bring the machine, the big trailer up here. You have to go to the Bay Area. And they're also working on a cerebral spinal fluid test. It's called the CSF test. And it too is showing evidence of if you have the plaques and tangles, the amyloid and the tau protein in your spinal fluid. So what makes the diagnosis so difficult? People can have the plaques and tangles and not have Alzheimer's. People can have outward symptoms of Alzheimer's, all the symptoms, and show no signs of plaques or tangles. So it's not a concrete, easy to make diagnosis. So those are things that the Alzheimer's Association is working on to try to, simplify the identification of the biomarkers. And remember, if you have a biomarker, that doesn't mean you have that particular disease. It means you have the tendency to possibly develop that condition. Same like the biomarkers that they now have identified in breast cancer and other kinds of cancer. Okay, next slide.
So healthy behaviors for your brain. So how much would all of you pay to reduce your risk of cognitive decline by 40%? If it was a pill, how many of you would take it? How about if there's no pills involved and it was free? Well, it is free. You can reduce cognitive decline by 40% by these following behaviors. So people can take steps to potentially reduce your risk. Science now points to many modifiable risk factors impacted by lifestyle choices. It's never too late or too early to take action now. So these healthy behaviors, the first one is exercise. Why? Exercise may directly benefit the brain by increasing blood and oxygen flow. It may also reduce other risk factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, and obesity. The next one, taking care of your heart. Why? The heart and brain are connected. So what's good for the heart is also good for the brain, which is a recent discovery. We all know to take care of our heart, but now we know that it's just as important with the brain. It's an organ also. Eating healthy. Why is this important? Eating healthy may reduce risk factors for high blood pressure, diabetes, and obesity. Quitting smoking. Why is this important? Smoking increases the risk of problems with the heart and blood vessels, which also are connected to brain health. Evidence shows that toxins in smoke increase the risk of cognitive decline. The next one, protecting your head. Why? Because traumatic brain injuries can increase the risk of experiencing cognitive decline and certain forms of dementia. I read the stat, not too long ago, that the majority of professional boxers all end up with some form of dementia. So you really,
Football players too.
and football players too. So, which is really scary since my 15-year-old is now playing football. So getting a good night's sleep. Why? Sleep is essential for overall health and well-being. Sleep affects other risk factors like maintaining healthy blood pressure and controlling diabetes. All right, next slide.
So they're also one other thing that is now coming to the forefront. You talk about a healthy heart. They also know that there can be direct links from infections in your mouth. And so again, they're all interconnected. Your mouth is very close to your brain. Whatever goes through your heart goes to all of your other organs. So good dental hygiene is also something that they're starting to stress as a possible preventative measure for getting Alzheimer's. Okay, so the 10 warning signs. So these are warning signs. It doesn't mean that if you have these, you actually have dementia. So memory loss. Well, we all know that, we all forget our keys. You walk into a room and you forget what you're doing because your brain's, doing 50 things at one time. So memory loss as we age is normal. But memory loss that interferes with your daily routine and the quality of your life can be a sign of Alzheimer's. Same with challenges in planning or solving problems. So sometimes, you get in a situation and you get flustered and you can't think of what you need to think to, arrive at a conclusion, but you eventually figure it out. With Alzheimer's, you can't figure it out. You're just at a loss for words and you don't know which way to go. Difficulty with familiar tasks at home, at work, or at leisure. People that are developing more serious Alzheimer's forget things like how to dress themselves, how to have good personal hygiene. And as the disease increases, you can also forget how to feed yourself. So that's really, by the time you get to that phase, you are pretty well in the depths of this disease. Confusion with time or place. again, we all, get our times mixed up or maybe get our dates mixed up where we're supposed to be, but you know to go look at your calendar or your, phone where you've got it listed, and you can figure out how to solve that confusion. If you have Alzheimer's, you can't figure out how to solve that. You don't remember that you have a calendar, or you don't remember that you're even going to be at that place or that time, or a lot of times you don't even remember the people that are there. So another sign is understanding visual images and spatial relationships, having problems with speaking or writing. You're in the middle of a sentence, and sometimes we all forget a word or a person's name. Might take a little while to come back to you, but eventually you can figure it out, or your brain memory kicks in and you remember what it is. With dementia and with Alzheimer's, they can't remember. So that comes into, them not recognizing family members, not recognizing their home, familiar surroundings, misplacing things and losing them. We already talked about that. If you can go back and retrace it, like, okay, where did I last have my car keys? Oh, I left them in the door when I unlocked the door. With Alzheimer's, you may not even remember that you had a car, or that you even had car keys. So I think you can start to see the pattern. There's normal things that happen as we age that are called cognitive impairment or cognitive decline. Most of the time we can figure a way out, but with Alzheimer's, you can't. And the last one is really it's very sad, because people, their whole moods and their whole personalities change. They may revert to childhood, to being a child. They may call family members, associate their wife as being their mother. That's very common. And the one that is most difficult to deal with is when they become angry and aggressive. And fortunately, that's not always the case with people. But my girlfriend's mother had Alzheimer's and was in a care home, and she would go to feed her, and her mother would get angry at her and say, I don't want to eat. You're forcing me to eat. She would knock the spoon out of her hand. She would try to tip the tray of food over. If she got something, she would pick it up and try to throw it at her. And you just, as a caregiver, you have to realize this is not the same friend or family member that you knew before this horrible disease invaded their brain. So those are the warning signs. We do have detailed brochures and information that goes into that more further, and we'll tell you more about resources available a little bit later in our talk. Okay, next slide.
All right, there's 7 stages of Alzheimer's. So there's the pre-dementia stage. The first one is just healthy folks. There's no dementia at all. Stage 2, Lynn just mentioned, age-related forgetfulness. So you're not Alzheimer's, so you're just forgetting stuff because of your age. We start with stage 3 is mild cognitive impairment. So not everyone who is diagnosed with MCI will eventually get Alzheimer's. Some people will get to stage 3 and they'll stay there. They won't develop. But everyone who does eventually get Alzheimer's will go through this stage. Let's go to the next one. Stage 4 is mild dementia. Stage 5, moderate. Now, when you get to the moderate stage, this is the point where you can't no longer live without assistance. So you're going to start needing help with eating, dressing, toiletrying, all
Personal hygiene.
Yeah, personal hygiene. You've got stage 6, moderately severe, and then stage 7, very severe. All right, next slide.
So how can we help? So the Alzheimer's Association maintains and pays for a 24/7 helpline. The number is here on the slide. You can also access it at the Alzheimer's website, alz.org. This phone hotline is staffed by clinical and professional medical people, not just a volunteer answering the phone. So if you're in the depths of frustration, you don't know which way to turn, you need somebody to talk to, you have questions that you don't know where to get an answer, you can call this hotline, and they are great about giving confidential support and information to people living with dementia, to caregivers, to family members that want to know how they can help, and to just answer the general public's questions. And then again, the Alzheimer's Association funds free education and programs like we're doing for you today. They also fund locally in October, end of September, I forget when it is. We partner with the Humboldt Resource Center, Humboldt Senior Resource Center, and they're doing a big dementia conference. Unfortunately, it's on Zoom again this year. But caregivers who have to renew their license, you have to have so many hours of active ongoing training every year or two to keep your license current. They can attend this workshop and get credit for that. The Alzheimer's Association pays for their fees. It saves our local caregivers having to drive to the Bay Area to take these courses. And it's a free event to the public. If you're interested in that, you can contact the Senior Resource Center and they can give you the information on how to register. It's a 2-day conference. The first morning it's 9 to 12. The second day it's 12 to 4 in the afternoon. And then again, the Alzheimer's Association has now partnered with ARP as a community resource finder. And just recently, they have formed a nationwide partnership with a Native American, I forget the organization, but the nationwide Native American that is affiliated with over 200 indigenous tribes throughout our country. They have just formed a partnership with this organization and are giving them, I believe it's $5 million to really ramp up the education program, because one of the things we found with COVID is a lot of our underserved populations, and again, that's a catchword. So that's like our minority populations. It would be your Native Americans, your Latino, Hispanic, your Blacks, your Asian American, Pan-Asian, Pacific was their new name, and also the LGBTQ community. They've all discovered from COVID, these specific groups don't receive the same kind of information, knowledge, or medical care that we do. So this is another way that they are reaching out and helping. And just locally, we have now partnered with United Indian Health. And sometime in the next couple of weeks, when Kim and I can get it all coordinated, we have ordered 10 or 12 different brochures that they are going to be placing in 9 of their clinics throughout the county. So that's our outreach program. So if anybody else is on this call and you have a group that you would like us to come and talk to, or just send you brochures or information, please get a hold of us and we have the resources to do that. Okay, next slide.
All right, what is Trial Match? So Trial Match is the way all of you can help. So it's a clinical studies matching service designed to provide a customized list of potential study matches to each user. So go to the next slide. So who can sign up? So anybody, people with Alzheimer's or other dementias, people with no current concerns about their memory. So referred to as healthy volunteer, folks that are caregivers for someone with Alzheimer's or another dementia, and then anybody 18 or older. All right, next slide. So, and there is the login for it, or you can call the phone number. So, and it's great. I'm a part of Trial Match, and you just fill out a little survey and then it matches you with all these studies that you can be involved with. And they're as easy as every few months, they'll send you like a memory trial, and you just go ahead and 10-15 minutes, fill it out, and then a few months later you do it again. So it's definitely a way that you can help with the research.
And again, it's important to note that they just don't want people who have Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. They need healthy people too. That's how these studies work, because they're able to do all kinds of cross-matching and try to eliminate what could be a cause or what is a cause or a condition or a certain environmental factor that influences it. So they do need people that have absolutely no signs, symptoms, or anything to participate in these research programs. Okay, next slide. Okay, local resources. I mentioned the Humboldt Senior Resource Center. We also have adult day healthcare, both in Eureka and down in your area in Fortuna. And we have the Alzheimer's service programs. The Resource Center just received a grant and they've hired a staff person who is just strictly dealing with Alzheimer related issues. Redwood Caregivers Resource Center, which is also located at the Humboldt Senior Resource Center here in Eureka on California Street. They can help in other ways, and they have respite programs that you can sign up for. Respite, if you don't know what that is if you're a caregiver being a caregiver is extremely stressful, and you need time to yourself. You need a break away from the individual that you're trying to help. So unfortunately, with some of the adult day healthcare programs, they are covered by Medicare or Medi-Cal, but not always both. So the Redwood Caregivers Resource Center is another agency that you could contact for help and assistance. Same with Area 1 agency, and also adult day healthcare at Mad River if you're in the northern part of the county. And then North Coast Neuro Psychopath, is that Dr. Levine?
Psychology, correct. Yeah.
So we have a doctor that just moved up here 3 or 4 years ago. His name is Dr. Levine. He's located in Sunnybray, and he's had patients come to him that he's diagnosed as having, the early stages of Alzheimer's. He's referred them to us. We've had people come to us. We've referred them to him. And he now also has just become very actively involved in a new research study project at UCSF Medical Center in San Francisco. So we have a lot of care available. I would just like to stress, if you know anybody, family or friend that is dealing with this, please have them reach out to us or one of these other agencies. The statistics for caregivers is absolutely frightening. I believe it's 90% of caregivers develop some kind of serious health related issue as a direct result of the stress from caregiving. And of that 90%, I believe it's 70% pass away before the person they are taking care of. So part of our educational outreach is to let caregivers know there's assistance and come to us and see if we can help them get some break in the cycle that they're in. And then just to give you an idea, so if you make donations to the Alzheimer's Association, $20 will help offset the cost of one family member caring for somebody with Alzheimer's to get a support from 3 support group meetings. $100 helps offset the cost of intensive one-on-one family meeting or a master's level clinician meeting. And $200 and up helps offset the cost of 50 individuals being able to attend a 1 hour long workshop that would cover the 10 warning signs or any other specific questions that they want asked. And then just another statistic that's important to know, the Alzheimer's Association is the largest nonprofit funder of research projects around the world, investing over $250 million to fund 950 projects in 48 countries around the world. So they are not just funding research here in the United States. It is a global problem. It's becoming a global crisis, and therefore we need a global solution. Okay, next slide.
So we're now at the point, the Walked into Alzheimer's. It's held annually in more than 600 communities nationwide. The Humboldt County Walk this year will be held in person. We're thrilled about that. It's been virtual the last 2 years, which has been challenging. We've still done well, but it'll be great to be back in person. So it's held on October 8th at the Adorny Center from 9 to like 11. So it's a quick event. You show up, you register, opening ceremony. We walk, we come back for a quick closing, and then you're on with your day. So people can also walk in their own neighborhoods. We've had folks do this the last 2 years, and some people are thrilled to do this, and they're going to continue to do it, which is not a problem either. So the Walked into Alzheimer's is the largest fundraiser for Alzheimer's care, support, and research. It's also a great way to connect with others that are impacted by this disease and make a difference in your community. All right, let's go to the next slide. So how can you get involved? So I told you when the event was, how to get involved. You can join our planning committee. We've got, these are the different committees: retention, recruitment, sponsorship, advocacy, mission, marketing, AIM advocacy. You can start or join a team. It's very easy to do this. So it's free registration, unlimited team size. You can be a team of 1, 2, 3, whatever. There's no fee to register at all. And there's no minimum fundraising commitment at all. So some folks don't raise a dime, and we still want you out there. So because it means so much to folks that are battling this disease to see all the people come together at the Adorny Center, because they feel like there's actually support. We have sponsorship opportunities ranging from $250 to $5,000. You can volunteer at the event. We so need volunteers. at the event, being out on the course, helping with registration, all sorts of areas. So we set up on Friday, we need help with that, and then also on walk day. So if you individually want to, or if you know a group, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, whoever that might want to volunteer as a community service project, pass along my number there. My cell number's on the screen, or my email address. All right, Lynn's going to talk about the flowers real
I
quick
always
here.
forget what they are. So we are accepting donations. I belong to the Visiting Angels team and had the prestigious honor of being the top fundraiser for Visiting Angels, all of their teams nationwide last year. And our local team was the #1 fundraising team, and we raised over $100,000. $50,000 of that was an incentive from the CEO of Visiting Angels. So he puts up a good sum of money, and you get donations from him for being the top team, the top fundraiser, the most improved team, the most member, the best rookie. He's got 5 or 6 different categories. So his name is Larry Megis, and he is extremely difficult and very committed to doing whatever he and the Visiting Angels company can do to help fight Alzheimer's. So if you're interested in making a donation, my information is up there. And you could, make out a check to the Alzheimer's Association and send it to me. One of the other things that we'll be doing a couple of weeks before the actual walk is we'll be out in and about the communities from Scotia Riadel, east to Hydesville, Carlotta, Blue Lake, and north as far as Trinidad. And we'll be setting up a promise garden. So the Alzheimer's Association has 4 distinctive promise flowers. If you could take that slide down, and then you can see the screen. Take that one down too, and see if I can see the screen. So I can, quit sharing. So the first flower is purple. And if you are a purple flower holder, it means that you've passed away. You have somebody in your family or friend that has passed away. And you can write on these flowers. So we have people that get flowers at the walk, and they write personal messages. They write the person's name that they're walking for. And we'll have a promise garden at the actual walk event that people can get a flower, and they can either carry it when they walk or stick it in the promise garden. So blue means that you have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia. And some of the other forms that are out there are Lewy body, frontal lobal. What's the other one? I forget the other. There's 3 other main ones. I can't remember the 3rd one right now. And they now know there's direct links between Parkinson's. So a lot of times people that have Parkinson's will have a tendency to get dementia on top of that. So if you are the yellow flower, you are the caregiver,
or just if you know someone who has.
And if you carry the orange flower, you're a very lucky person. You are not affected by having anybody in your family dealing with this horrible disease, but you just want to be there to be supportive. So these are called our promise flowers, and you'll see they're in our ads and all over the place. And we will be having the promise gardens. Like I said, they'll be in Scotia, Riadel, Fortuna, Hydesville, Ferndale, a couple of places in downtown Fortuna, several places here in Eureka, Blue Lake, Trinidad, McKinleyville, and Arcata. So again, we're going to be setting up those promise gardens on Friday, September 23rd. So if anybody in the Fortuna area is interested in helping us with some of that in Southern Humboldt, we could use some actual manpower. We get hay bales donated, and we stick the flowers in the hay bales, and then have some signage about the event that's available there. So does anybody have any questions or comments or any other things that we could try to help you with?
Well, I have a question on the caregiver side. The diagnosis is obviously the hardest thing to negotiate. And I know I'm sure calling and the support line would probably be the first step that you would recommend for somebody to kind of get a plan,
and to be aware of what the warning signs are. Because sometimes, unfortunately, the medical profession isn't all up to speed on this, and doctors are remember when cancer was first prevalent, or AIDS? They never wanted to talk about it. They never wanted to tell you might have that. It was always the big secret. If, they never wanted to tell a person they had cancer. There are still a large percentage of physicians nationwide that don't want to make that diagnosis. We have a person on our committee. I know her and her husband personally, and she had a horrible time trying to get a concrete diagnosis. She ended up going to Stanford. And now we have Dr. Levine in our area. He is super great about this. He can make the preliminary. There are some specific tests. Have you seen the ad on TV where they show the gentleman and they're saying, what time of year is it? And he goes, well, I know it has something to do with leaves, and who's the president, and there's specific questions. I believe there's 10 questions that they can ask you, and that will show if you have the beginnings of cognitive impairment or memory loss. That's what cognitive impairment is. It is a form of memory loss. And so, unfortunately, a lot of the doctors are hesitant to make that diagnosis. A couple of years ago, the Alzheimer's Association was successful in getting Congress to pass an act or a law that there is now a specific code that you can bill Medicare for an Alzheimer's diagnosis. Up until about 2 or 3 years ago, that wasn't available. And so doctors didn't want to, they didn't know how to bill it. If they put down that they diagnosed you with Alzheimer's, they weren't going to get paid. So it's a vicious cycle. So not only are we trying to educate the public, or are we trying to do all of this research, we also have to educate our physicians and bring them up to speed and educate everybody. It is a horrible disease. There is no cure. It is a fatal disease, unfortunately. But if you get an early diagnosis, families, and you can make a plan. You can get your financial affairs in order. You can get a plan in place that when you need help, you've got a support group that's going to come in and help you. If you wait till you get to that stage, it becomes horribly overbearing for the family to deal with. So early diagnosis is very key. We push that a lot.
Great. Go ahead, Heather.
Wondering if you have any suggestions for how to start that conversation with a loved one that you
That's a tough one.
Has some issues.
Yes. Sometimes I'm not real versed at that. Sometimes you could just kind of have a conversation, like when they forget something and then they remember it. One of the things to do is not argue with them. You should remember this. I've told you this 10 times already. Why can't you remember this? That just creates frustration for you and major frustration for the person. Again, I would go on our website, go to alz.org, and it's just, there's a gazillion articles and websites and everything that you can look at on the website. And it may give you some clues on how to broach
it
that
does
subject.
Actually, there is a brochure on that. There is information on the website about that. So, and often the person will probably know that something is up. So my sister-in-law's mom a few years ago, when I was out in Arizona for my niece's graduation, came up to me and said, gosh, you know what, I'm having memory loss, and my sister went through this 2 years ago and died, and I know it's happening to me, and I know I've got about 2 years before it gets really bad. And she did pass away in December. So folks usually kind of know. So definitely go to the website, look for the information. If you can't find it, get a hold of me and I can find it for you.
And also denial is one of the biggest hurdles to overcome. And it's not always denial it's sometimes denial by the person themselves, and it's denial by the family. So a couple of years ago, when we had a table at the 4th of July and I was walking around handing out the 10 warning signs, I literally had people said, I don't want that. I don't want to read it. I don't want to know. And so I think that is starting to change with the nationwide advertising campaign. The more publicity that we've gone out, we do articles in the Times Standard. We've got all of our ads on the TV stations, on K-Red radio station. Kim Kemp with Redheaded Black Belt has stuff on the association. We send stuff to her all the time. And again, you can call, Kim. We have a lot more resources that we can't even begin to talk about today. Or you can go to the website, and if you can't find something there, call us. Or the Senior Resource Center or Area 1 agency. Okay. That's a hard
Awesome.
question to broach.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my second question. So thanks, Heather. You read my mind.
And sometimes what the family needs to do before you try to broach that issue with your loved one, the family needs to get together and they all need to be on the same page. Because a lot of times you'll say, well, I'm with mom and I noticed this, and your sister said, I think you're crazy. She doesn't do that when she's with me. So the family needs to come together. They need to be unified, and they need to have a plan, and then go and broach the subject with your loved one. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Kim. So appreciate you being here. And yeah, and it's a hard conversation to start, especially as our parents become elderly. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But again, planning is the key.
Yeah.
So if you start before you're in that situation where you're like, oh, now what the heck do I do? If you can develop a family plan, then everything is already, you have your ducks lined up in a row. And believe me, it makes it a whole lot easier. So we appreciate you inviting us. And again, if any of you on our Zoom meeting have other groups or are affiliated with other organizations and would like us to come and do a presentation, we're more than happy and willing. The more we can do this, the more we get out the word as to what's available to help you locally.
Yeah, and it goes to reducing some of that stigma too.
Yes.
I think that people feel 100%.
And stress. And stress.
Yeah.
Feeling you're all alone. My dad was an epileptic, and he had a whole series of massive grand mal seizures. And when they finally came to from being sedated for 4 or 5 days, he had a memory loss. He couldn't remember how to drive to the Lager Bar in Blue Lake, which he owned, and had been driving there for 7 or 8 years. And the doctor just said, oh, he's had so much anesthesia. Anesthesia, if you have to have surgery or anything like that, directly affects the memory and affects a person with Alzheimer's. And so we waited, It didn't get better. My mom took him to a neurologist in San Francisco. They did every known test on the brain. This was back in the 1970s. Nobody had heard of the word dementia. Alzheimer's wasn't even recognized. The association wasn't started until the 1980s. And we dealt with this for 10 to 15 years and just did it on our own, and my boys learned how to make, compensate for him, if he forgot something. Sometimes they'd cover for him, so my mom wouldn't get upset. And we had to figure out how to deal with it on our own. And that's why I became involved in the association, because I don't want anybody else to have to do that. There are a lot of resources and help available now. So that's my reason for being an advocate.
Well, thanks again. We appreciate you being here and sharing that information with us. So, and with that, I think we will head off into our week. We will see everybody next week with Ben Bailey from Lost Coast Communications. Thanks everybody for being here. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.